All right, so welcome everybody to our fourth BFNations podcast. It's been a while. A lot of things have come up, but we're back, hopefully for good.
Yeah.
So today we have our returning guest, Syrup, who is the admin of BFNations. You all know him.
Right.
And we also have Nept, who is part of the competition team, correct?
That is correct, Rogue.
All right, so I'm gonna let Nept take it and present himself a little bit and tell you guys what he does for BFNations and
Competition.
whatever he wants to talk about, really. So go ahead.
Hello, I'm Nept. I am, I suppose, a competitive advisor for BFNations, and I lead a competitive team called the Omniscient that has competed and won a number of Battlefield events from like Battlefield 3 way back in the day, Battlefield 1, and 2042 here. I guess most of the Battlefield community, the competitive community, would recognize the Omni tag, and that's about it.
I recognize your logo. I think a content creator called Enders has a similar one, if I'm not mistaken.
Mr. Enders has a white variant of that.
Yeah, okay.
Probably seen his very even-keeled stream.
He seems completely fine to me.
Thanks for joining today, Nept. It's fun to have you.
No worries.
All right, so we had a couple of little topics for today's podcast. It's been a while, so we're kind of behind on a lot of the stuff that's happened, but we're trying to stay with whatever's current in Battlefield 2042. So first topic is going to be on, obviously, the content delays. I can't really go around it. I mean, it's such a big part of what's happening right now. Two, the map reworks, which is probably going to, I don't know at what point it's going to affect the competitive play, because I don't believe you guys are going to be playing on those types of maps, so larger maps. But we can talk about the map reworks as well and how that's going to affect the game as a whole. And then talk a little bit about the core feedback loop. So this week, so they started talking about the feedback loop that they're starting with the Battlefield community, and they highlighted quite a few points here in regards to maps and what they're looking at changing on specific maps to improve certain things like flow, traversal, match intensity, and all that. So we're going to touch on that subject as well. So starting off with content delays. So obviously content delays are never really fun. I think everybody can agree with that.
No.
And it kind of comes with the territory. Unfortunately, it seems like it's a reoccurring theme with live service games where developers are unfortunately pushed to release a game when they know, well, it's not ready. And then a lot of the time is spent, fixing problems instead of working on new content, which I think is what we're seeing here. And I can't remember. Was it the same case with Battlefield 5? I think it was quite a while until we got the first map, Panzerstorm, right? Or I'm mistaken?
Oh, I think there was a good chunk of time there, yeah, but I can't remember the exact dates.
Yeah, okay. So kind of seeing the cycle repeat itself. Maybe
A little bit.
Maybe when they have to rework an entire engine, maybe give them a little bit more time to develop the game. I don't know. But I wanted to know what you guys think of these content delays. Obviously, they're for good reasons or bad reasons. But how is that affecting you guys and your willingness to play Battlefield 2042 as it stands right now?
Oh boy, howdy.
Go ahead, Nev. I will start this one.
So
it's a pretty loaded question. I know. I apologize.
Yeah, that's okay. It's not so much it's more there's so much that I'm trying to mentally structure this. I would say that generally it has very negatively affected people's desire to play the game. And as a team lead, it's particularly frustrating because I had a number of people looking forward toward 2042, perhaps even with the beta's issues, especially after the beta, because the movement was so fluid and quick, and people were like, "Oh, this is great." And then the beta went away. The full game came out a little bit later. We had concerns, obviously, that it wasn't going to be in a good state. There was issues with the mouse, which I have to get to, but Figured, okay, well, maybe they at least fix that and whatever. The skeleton's good. And then the full game releases, of course, they had nerfed the movement. It's not horrendous, but it's not nearly as nice as it was in beta. So that was personally disappointing for me and for a number of the guys. And right away, like, a number of my guys lost interest because I mentioned we play Battlefield, but like our backgrounds and for a lot of guys, faster paced games, like Unreal Tournament,
Okay. Yeah.
the Tribe series. And so I like having a little bit of mechanical skill to the games that I play, and Battlefield and its community has often not, and they want it slowed down. So that's personally frustrating. But I can set that aside. But it launched with massive mouse issues, right? Like it still has massive mouse issues, and you've heard they didn't even really recognize that until like Enders and Baranox from my team started blasting Twitter with it, and then they finally picked up that there was an issue. And that's
I too noticed
right?
it
like,
pretty quickly. I'm not a pro player or anything competitive, but it was the mouse issues that there was on launch were staggering, and there's still some to this day.
They're awful. Like you can switch into that game from literally any other game, and like I'm running around in Final Fantasy 14 right now. The mouse is better, than a shooter in 2022. That's absolutely ridiculous. And I don't want to be like overly dramatic, but that is super ridiculous. So those issues scared away most of us, and it was frustrating because like there was kind of some hope when the beta launched, and then they nerfed the movement. They had the mouse issues and the whole kit and caboodle with the map issues, with the performance. We could have set that aside personally and waited, but the mouse issues and the movement nerfs kind of killed it for a lot of our guys. And to give you an idea, I managed to drag everyone in for the 2 ASB tournaments, or like 1.5 of those.
Okay.
We won both of them. We won with a mixed team because we didn't have enough for the first one, and then the full Omni team, the second one, won that quite comfortably. And we haven't played since. We played the BFNations tournament as Team USA and won that recently, but like all of our guys have been playing Halo. All of our guys have been playing Elden Ring. I've been playing Final Fantasy. Like that's that's the top competitive team, at least NAEU, in Battlefield right now. And I don't say that in a braggy way, but like, it's just I think fairly accepted in the community. And none of us are playing. Enders is playing, Focus is playing, and Baranox are playing because they have stream obligations. And that's it.
Because they hate themselves. No, I'm just kidding. But I can see like why people would want to go play something else. It's slow to fix, in my opinion, pretty important issues. Like some guns, I've talked about this in the past. I'll talk about it again until it's actually fixed. If you use the SFAR MGL, don't get into a vehicle because you're screwed. Because you won't be able to aim down sight afterwards. And
they still haven't fixed that.
No, and you can replicate it. It's easy. You can do it every single time. And for the longest time, I was playing Rush because that's my preferred game mode in pretty much any Battlefield title. And you couldn't spawn on the map if you were using that weapon, because as soon as you'd get out of the map, you couldn't ADS. So it's like, I understand that development takes time. But there's some really annoying issues that have yet to be fixed, and we're now 4 months post-launch almost.
Yeah, the issues are manifold and profound.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate that there was a lot of hope for the game, especially like specialists aside. Like that's a whole other thing where it's just a design choice. People will like it or not like it. I mean, that's just how it is. But having such issues like mouse input issues, a bunch of bugs that just annoy the hell out of you. You still, in certain instances, can't revive people because they're too close to an object or stuck through the wall. All these little things that just, you play it, sometimes you might have bouts of fun, especially if you're playing with people. By yourself, not so much, in my opinion, because, you don't have VoIP. You can't pick the squad you're in. All these issues make it so that it gives you pretty poor solo experience because, you can't really join a squad that has your playstyle. you can just jump through squads
They
randomly.
will fix the issue of the mouse, and they are talking about that in the next
Yeah,
update. I hope
yeah.
so. No?
So they're releasing a patch next week. Well, allegedly
Soon.
they said, and that's going to contain the scoreboard and a small range of fixes. So that was supposed to come out this week, but it's coming out next week. Now that small range of fixes, like, is it going to be fixed, like stuff that we've been seeing since the launch of the game? I hope so. I don't know how big of a team they have working on Battlefield 2042 right now. I would imagine most of the team is either working on another game that they have in development or the new content that is supposed to launch for Battlefield 2042. So I don't really know how many people there are actually working on fixing, issues. So that's kind of concerning because, we're late on a lot of things, or they're late on a lot of things, in my personal opinion. But
oh yeah, horrendously late. And actually, just a quick aside on the specialists, we actually like them. We think that for the first time, they've managed to add some tactical depth to the competitive game. Especially the small scale infantry, the 4v4, 5v5, 6v6 stuff, where previously it was just medic and assault rifle. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
pretty
people
much.
can say what they want, but ultimately it was
AK
medic.
971 with a compensator on there, and boom, Bob's your
And
uncle.
they're like, a lot of the community likes to pretend the Battlefield is this massively tactical.
It's not.
like,
It's
shooter.
not. You can
It's
can
not.
go play squad. You can go play Hell Let Loose. You can play much more Arma 3 if you really want to have 3 keyboards on your desk.
What's that one, that Rainbow Six One Siege?
Yeah.
Like, they have, classes, they have maps that are built to be, like, actually changed in a meaningful way with these different class gadgets. I don't like that speed of game personally, but I can understand the appeal. And Battlefield, for the longest time, has just been medic assault rifle, because why would you not?
Exactly.
And with the specialists, now we have tools. People can use Sundance to flank and spawn. People can use McKay to gain like a height advantage. People can use a whole bunch of these different specialists in interesting ways. So we were actually encouraged by that. I know a lot of the Battlefield community didn't love them, but to me, that was encouraging step.
Even for the rules, they were made before you're arriving. You opened me about the two school of mentality that we have, with some more strict, as you say, only medic, only one weapon. This is exactly what we have done. But the next one, you, Frantic, and Romies and Iso, there is two type of school. It's going to be a laboratory. I'm glad that you learn us, honestly, to hear that you guys in the competitive scene love the specialists. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the team. I think, like, Omni likes it because, we see the possibilities, but a lot of other teams were they spent the first ESB tournament, like, not seeing the tactical possibilities. I think they're opening up to it now after that experience, but I think a lot of them, their initial response was a lot of Battlefield players who said, like, I don't like this, I'm dying to this, and I don't understand it, I don't want to think about it, and I hate it, remove it from the game. It's just a human reaction.
Maybe.
Quick question that came up off the top of my head. Do you guys have a set limit of specialists, like, per squad or per team?
The
In
ESB
competitive,
rule set did. The
Okay.
ESB rule set did, which is what we were going off of. I think the ESB rule set can be tweaked a little bit. I think they started with too many restrictions off the bat, but that one I think is a good one. I don't think you should be running with, like, 4 McKays, for instance.
Yeah, I
or
think it
3
should be
McKays and a Falk.
replicated somewhat in the live game. I just find it ridiculous to see, like, a squad full of the same character. That's just personal opinion. I don't know which.
But that's what we made for the tournament, because it was, again, the other school of mentality. What Nept said about the verticality, the specialist addition in the competition, it's really a world. When you say people are discovering this, I was myself, and I even told going from Deuce to Iso to everyone the same. We were having only one specialist, no med pen, only Falk, one weapon. But it was for the sake of the competition that we were doing this. But at the same time, it's true that it's not maybe all the team that can adapt to all the specialist addition in the competition. So there's maybe a mix to do there.
Yeah,
But
at that point, I'd probably tell them to suck it up, Buttercup. But
Yeah. Well, maybe they could sprinkle some of that competitive stuff into online, but I don't know in which capacity to be able to restrict the use of X amount of characters
Yeah.
per squad, because then people might just start creating their old squads and you have a list
Yeah.
of 64 individual squads, or you force people to be in squads. And like, I don't know how they could do
For
that.
competition, we can control the variables, but for pubs, maybe indeed they will not be able to do so.
Like it's like another game that probably both of you played, Apex Legends. I mean, you can only have one legend per squad per team, you know.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
No,
that's just how it is, you know. You can't have two
but
lifelines in a squad. Well, at a certain point in time, you could, because there was a bug that allowed you to have the same legend more than once, but that is an outlier.
Okay.
But yeah, you can't have more than one of the same character per squad. That's just how the game is built. And it's like, well, if you didn't get your character, well, maybe you try something else, or maybe you start practicing with another one that you can get good with, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that you're a little bit more versatile, you know. So
Yeah.
that, you know, it doesn't really matter if you don't always get your main character. You start exploring other play styles, and yeah, I think it would just bring more
That
diversity.
made me remember one phrase when we talk with Lycan in our podcast number 1. Maybe at the beginning there was too much open, too much in silo, too much classes specific, and now with this Battlefield it's too much open. Everyone can take every class, every gadget from every other character. So again, the mix of you said one specialist per squad. I like it. I didn't know that it was like this in Apex. So yeah, I feel like all what we say about compartmenting, splitting a bit those things while keeping those specialists seems to be the way to go.
Yeah, I think they should like split off the specialists into their different classes. Each class of 2-3 specialists has their set gadgets they can pick from, and then you have their specific gadget. Then you have one specialist per squad, maybe. I don't know. I just
Makes
spitballing
sense.
at this point.
No, but makes sense that yeah.
Yeah, and also if they really wanted to go the extra mile, have different character models for the Russian team and
Goodness. Yeah, that really
that would be
bothers me.
I
really
hate it.
bothers
I
me.
hate it so much.
You just need to make one more set of the
Exactly.
characters. Like it can't
And then
be.
if-
And what were the artists doing? Like the other devs are fucking up the game. Like the artists.
Yeah,
make it
like
available,
it-
you know?
it just
doing their
annoys me
business.
that you have all these mercenaries that are fighting on both sides. Like what?
Yeah.
And that you have
Yeah.
I think Sundance, what is she, Haitian or Jamaican, speaks flawless Russian. And it annoys me. All these people
She's a
speak.
polyglot. She's very versatile.
Yeah, exactly. All these people. all
She's
these
great.
people
She's the best character in the game, though.
You know, Falk, she's German, so yeah, you could understand. Yeah, probably she knows how to speak some Russian to some degree.
Yeah.
You know, Boris, good. Angel, he is.
And McKay's Canadian, I'm sad to say,
Yeah,
given
I'm-
his annoying voice lines. But
Yeah, that
You
really
know.
hurt. That really hurt
all
me
good.
on a personal level in syrup, I think, as
No,
well.
no. Maybe the phrase are a bit corny. We can. There's a way to, it's still a Battlefield for me. But
God,
I
I
agree with
hate that
those
guy.
phrases. No. I did. No. Yeah. For Sundance with the wingsuit, it's so OP. Honestly, tactically, on the field talking, I have a great fun with her. It's insanely amazing.
But yeah, if they could just drum up a second set of specialists just for each team to have their own, I think we'd go a long way in bringing the so-called immersion in a little bit, because right now you could literally be fighting the exact same person as you on the other side, so it just feels jarring, because in past Battlefields it was just like each team has their uniforms and everybody's faceless. You don't see anybody's face. Everybody has a helmet on.
So it
or-
didn't really matter so much.
yeah, it didn't really matter. But now that everybody has a face, two of them, a personality, it just makes it weird.
No, and having Russia and USA and precision about the phrase, it's all those things. I agree about the phrase. We're staying in the subject of the delay. I feel like those details may be late in the life cycle of the game, if I can say. Like the mouse input, the rework of the map will be like before that, but I agree. I didn't observe that Sundance, who speak French, was speaking Russian so flawlessly. But it's possible too. It's possible that
I'm not
people
like I was thinking about this. That it is. It's not impossible that seeing as there's two
not impossible.
superpowers left in the world, most people have learned to speak Russian.
Yeah.
But it's still weird, that they speak
Still
with
weird,
the
yeah.
perfect accent and no.
It's also just
Anyway.
weird seeing a mirror of you on the other
Yeah.
team, like all the time, and you're like.
It makes me think
I
of that
know they have
Spider-Man
little
meme where
lights,
they're
but-
all pointing at each other like
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's more about of that the duplication of those characters on each side. I agree. It will be, I guess,
It's just
everyone.
lazy. You
Yeah.
know, it's just.
Well,
super
you can
lazy.
tell they probably didn't have enough time to,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about later, but this is probably where a CT would come in handy. But we'll talk about that later. So if we want to move on to the second subject, which is map rework. So they started showing a little bit what they're doing to change the points in Kaleidoscope Breakthrough. I think that's the only map they've showcased a little bit what they're working on. Pardon. So yeah, I wanted to get your guys' opinions on, are the map reworks really going to do a lot to fix the flow, or are the base maps just so fundamentally like flawed, so to speak, that even changing stuff here and there won't really do all that much? Just to talk about Enders again, because he made a lengthy post talking about it in the Battlefield forums, but like just to give you guys an example, he is of the idea that pretty much all the maps just, even if they changed some things to them, they would need to be redesigned entirely. But I wanted to get your guys' opinion on this. What do you guys think of these map reworks? Do you think they're going to need to be pretty substantial to bring the maps to the levels of previous titles?
Oh, I don't know that the levels of previous titles are that high a bar, but I think it really depends on the mapping tools that they have available to them. Like, the biggest issue that I see on the maps at the moment, especially for anything like, not even just competitive play, especially for competitive play, but even just out in the pub setting, is that there's very little cover. There's far too much open space, and it feels as though the maps they've made, they wanted them to feel like real places. And it's true that probably, a space shuttle launch pad doesn't have a lot of cover on a runway, but maybe you throw something in there anyway, because that wouldn't play very well in a firefight. Like, we're trying to make an entertaining game experience, not, a nice looking map. So I think the biggest issue is cover, and you can make the maps much more playable, and I think most of the community would enjoy them more if they just did a simple cover pass, and that doesn't require big upheavals of terrain and building placements and that sort of thing. You can literally just throw down a bunch of, I don't know, trucks or like chest high walls, whatever you want. Just huck them around.
It also doesn't really feel like a war zone. The maps are way too clean.
Yeah.
Like on Kaleidoscope, there's these rivers or bodies of water, and there's like no destroyed boats in it. There's no trash everywhere. There's not really any rubble. It's a pretty pristine city landscape, and you're in the middle of a global conflict between two superpowers, and there's not a whole lot of indicators of that, conflict.
To give them like the full benefit of the doubt, I could see some rich city states, for example, or some rich cities like being able to not, like, for example, there are conflicts all over the world in certain countries going on pretty regularly, but you don't really see it happen in Vancouver. So like that makes sense to a degree, but I do think they could have just at least said, hey, there's a war coming, let's throw some cover down. You know what I mean? Let's put some barriers up in the roads. Let's do something. And instead it looks like everybody was completely caught unaware by this massive fight between two superpowers, and that doesn't seem realistic to me. So, but the cover pass, I think, would be a good way to fix, quote unquote, some of the maps, but like longer term, I do think they need to, and I think that would work for most of the community if they just did the cover pass, but longer term, I do think they need to rework the terrain and the points like significantly.
And also, like, I think something that exacerbates the problem of having a lack of cover is there's freaking vehicles everywhere, and the ease of access to said vehicles, because you can call them in.
Some people think there's not enough because of
my lord, as in mainly infantry player, I can promise you that is not the case.
No,
There's not
I
enough
feel
C5 and God's green earth to take care of all these goddamn vehicles.
but some maps, some people are really saying that they will need to have a vehicle to themselves go back on the point due to the space that they spawn.
Yeah, maybe
sometimes,
transport
but-
vehicles. That's true that a lot of the maps don't have transport vehicles. Like Renewal has the quads and the electric trucks.
But they miss a bit. Yeah, they need more. Yeah.
What else? You know, what other map?
I do
Kaleidoscope has the
think that you
tuk-tuks.
I love those.
They're awesome, but you know,
Yeah.
limited
I
means
do
of
think-
transportation.
Just like, I guess this is map related, but they could, like, there are a couple things they could do to solve some of the problems very quickly. Like the cover pass would be one, but two would be, you know, one of the biggest issues for infantry players is the power of air, specifically the helicopters, right? And I didn't have a particularly strong computer, or it was a fine computer, but it had trouble with 2042. So before I upgraded, I was getting terrible frames, and so I just spent all of my time rolling around in the Wildcat. And one good Wildcat player can really put a damper on the enemy air. The problem is that the
They're not
Wildcat
obligated
is
to
shared
have-
with. Exactly, you can roll 3 completely goddamn useless tanks out there, and then there's no Wildcat. And if you just said have the tanks, and you need to have a Wildcat, you know, or whatever,
They
you
should
would
have-
solve a lot of the air problems.
They should have thought of it as, you know, right now they're in the. I feel like they're in the mentality of giving players freedom of choice as to what they want to
Yeah.
use in the battlefield, at the
it's not
detriment
a
of the
coordinated
overall
thing,
map
right?
balance. You know, because in
Yeah.
previous battlefields, for example, Rogue Transmission, you know, none of the teams had an AA to start with, but the C point under the radar dish. You wanted that C point because that was your anti-air for the game if you got that point, you know?
Right.
And
right.
I think they gave players too much freedom now, and there's not at the detriment of the overall map balance in most cases. Because all the vehicles are tied into each other instead of saying, okay, this map has one jet, one AA, 2 tanks, 1 bolt, 1 LATV4 recon, and like hovercraft. And that's how you fix map balance, I think, for the most part.
That would certainly help.
Yep. I understand the thought process of like, okay, you guys can do whatever the hell you want. It's sandbox, you know? But at some point they need to be like, okay, wait, stop. This is absolutely ridiculous. We're game devs and this is not fun. And, you know, we have to put our foot on the ground and say, you can't have fucking 3-4 attack helis or like 4 bolts driving around. But
you know what part of the problem is that I think when they test these sorts of things, they are completely inept as players. That's one, but two,
they're not don't that much. No, I'm pretty sure the test is, but I get what you mean.
I think the developers are pretty inept, and I'm going to stick by that. And somebody's going to say, "Oh, Drunksy, you know, from Battlefield 4, he's on their team."
Yeah,
listen,
that's one person.
That's
No,
one
but this guy's
person.
great.
He designed the worst goddamn multiplayer map I have ever seen in my life.
What?
Which is, Battlefield 5's Rotterdam Squad Conquest is literally the worst multiplayer map I've ever seen design-wise. It has
no.
Let me finish. It has two literal street like corridors, like with no cover, going down the whole map. That's the whole map. And then on either side, the spawns are guaranteed spawn traps. They're across a bridge. And the moment you win 1 or 2 fights, you have a guaranteed spawn trap against the other team. And then on top of that, one of the bridges, but only one of them, can be blown up. So once you trap that team, you can blow up the bridge, and they have to swim across a canal into their point. They have no other option. They have to swim across a canal, and of course they're just fodder. But only one side. It is literally the worst multiplayer map I have ever played in my life. Not
As you say,
Rotterdam,
it's-
like general,
Rotterdam
but like
is great,
the Squad
bro.
Conquest version. Yeah. The Squad
No,
Conquest
but
version.
I think his comment on Twitter make a lot of sense when he's talking, he's answering technically. As you say, it's one person, and as you say too, Rogue. I think maybe there's a difference in the what the dev would like maybe to do sometime, and what's really is allowed as the final product. I
But
feel
let's
like
be
we
honest,
heard.
like, the suits are making the decisions at the end of the day. You can be
I
But,
don't
I
think
mean, maybe that's
I
a bit-
don't think that's entirely it. I think that
Probably not.
the community
You
is wanting. I think they're wanting to give these players the benefit of the doubt. But I can tell you, when I saw Squad Conquest Rotterdam, I was like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. And I've seen
But no,
bad
no
design
company, no
decisions.
competition.
I've seen bad. He might know Battlefield 4 competition. He might have done well there, but A, he doesn't know map design. B, I've seen, in my opinion, Battlefield 1, 5, and now 2042 ruined over the long term with his team's balanced decisions when it comes to like nerfing the movement ad infinitum, slowing the game down, and making it like muddy and just overall worse to play. And when I saw that he was in charge of 2042, I'm like, well, congratulations, wonderful. The guy who's made literally the worst multiplayer map I've ever seen is now in
You're
charge of
right. You're
gameplay
hard.
decisions. I am hard,
I understand
but
your
I'm gonna
feeling.
defend
I
it.
understand. No.
And the other
you
thing
explain
is,
this. We
look
can
at
agree
the
to
mouse.
disagree.
How do you pick up a mouse and not notice the problem? You know what I
I'm
mean?
playing
Like,
with the controller, no aim assist on PC. I think the slowdown is fine. When even I turn the snap, it's true that sometimes it's worse because it's slowed down too much before moving with the joystick to a player. As weird as it is, and I heard that controller player were complaining about the aim assist. It's stupid to have no aim assist at all on controller, but let's say even those who were just using the slowdown because in competitive server the zoom snap is off, only the slowdown is on. With a controller on PC, for me that's good. But when I turn both aim assist, sometimes I don't really see the difference. Honestly, the slowdown is powerful and works great on a controller on PC. So
sure,
I
but
have
the
to admit
mouse
that.
is a problem. The mouse
I
is
get
a
you.
problem, right?
You're not the only one. Even the big
And
content
so-
creators said that a little bit. But
I just want to be
yeah.
super clear. The reason I'm harping on this is because people are too willing to give Drunksy and his team a pass and say this is the problem with the people high up are making this decision. If they just left it to this development team, they would have been fine. No, the development team made a huge number of poor decisions leading into this, and I'm sure that the administration had something to do with it. The CEOs, the project leads,
general
I'm
managers
sure that
and
affected
whatever.
it. But you cannot shirk your responsibility for the poor gameplay when you're the goddamn gameplay designer. You can't do that. It's on him.
It's on
That's
everyone there. Let's say it's just one person. The fact that let's put it on.
Yeah, his
maybe
whole
a
team did a
yes,
poor
it's
job
it's
with the
better
gameplay
phrase.
design.
I understand what you mean, and we don't know in fact what's happening due to the delay, the final product versus what the dev want and could and have done. I agree. We'll see. For me, let's finish. Let's say on a positive note, there was an update coming up. There was some small bugs in addition. The mouse input I think was agreed even by them on Twitter again.
Yeah,
sorry.
literally months ago, and then they've done nothing.
No, you're right. It was a while. It was a while. It was a
also,
while, and the delay are long.
And then they thought they had fixed it, and then it was broken again. And like to me, that's just utter ineptitude again. Like they thought they'd fix it from the beta, which was a different issue, and then like, oh yeah, we got the mouse fixed, and then we were like, oh no, you didn't, and they didn't realize that again. Like, which tells me they're not great at using a mouse.
There's the mouse. But there's the feedback loop. They're talking a lot. No, but they will fix it in the list, and also in general, their openness about the game, which will be the next topic, the feedback loop. You read just a little bit about it. You're busy, but continue to read that. Your mind may be changed. I feel like they are open about those feedback and don't change now. But it's true that they acknowledge at the very beginning, and there's a little little while, let's say, between the moment when they say that and when we will see the result. That I can agree. But I think the feedback loop is great, and I genuinely hope that the mouse input will be addressed, especially if they said this at the beginning. I feel like TTK mouse or at Battlefield 1 and 5 always has been a topic of discussion, let's say. So, no, that's true. Not only in 2042. Honestly, I didn't feel that much in 2042. And I agree, Nept, that the delay and the fault is on maybe everyone for some result of the product. But I hope that mouse will be fixed in the next update, bro, next week.
I just want to say two things. Like,
go ahead.
As a leader, I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about being in a leadership position in general. One, it's difficult to be in a leadership position because sometimes you have to make hard decisions, and most of the decisions ultimately fall upon you to make. But I think being in a leadership position, you gotta one, be able to accept that you made a bad decision and just be like, okay, that's how you learn. Nobody's a born leader. People have to learn how to be a leader. And one of the main things is, learning about your mistakes and being able to accept constructive criticism, even from people that are technically below you on the so-called food chain. You have to be able to accept constructive criticism and work on those. And it's okay. Everybody makes mistakes, and that's fine. But owning up to those mistakes. But at the same time,
we never need to be sorry in life. When being too much sorry. Like
no, that's okay. But learning from those learning from mistakes is one of the biggest things that you can do in life. That's how you move forward. And I read some reviews on Glassdoor of people working at DICE, and a lot of it comes down to, unfortunately, the people that are in the leadership positions sometimes live in an echo chamber. That's basically what it comes down to. And it's hard being in a leadership position. I wholeheartedly agree with that. But one of the worst things you can do is think that you have the ultimate solution for everything.
Yeah, bro, but I feel like we're searching about people that are guilty, and we're forgetting. But in general, like the community is so sad about the game that because the argument before of the dev, there's two worlds, seems to not people don't want this to exist anymore, but we need to pass to another thing. So I feel the community is so sad that they're saying that no, it's not that anymore. Now it's everyone. Where we don't know more that we didn't know in Battlefield 5, we didn't know in Battlefield 1, and we didn't know in 2042 what's happening really. For me, man, I'm pretty sure like in big company that the dev, they were told I was doing work from home, and people were telling us, close your laptop after the work, give yourself a break because you're normally more productive at working from home. So for me, I'm a little bit more believing to the side that the dev put all the hard they want, but maybe there was different discussion between those places.
We can break that down a little bit, right? Like, let's look at this. Let's look at this for a moment, because it's not so much.
I don't disagree with you, bro. By the way, but that was my.
No,
we're having a discussion. We're having a discussion.
Yeah.
That's the point of this.
That's the point.
And like, I am sure Drunksy is a wonderful person. I appreciate that he's engaging on Twitter. At least somebody is. However, I have seen too much of the community saying that it's the CEO's fault. It's the high up project manager's fault, and it's not the developer's fault. But the CEO doesn't care about the time to kill. They don't care about how the weapons feel. They don't care about the movement speed. Right? They're not. You think the head of EA is like, excuse me, Florian, I noticed today that your TTK was 4 bullets. I would prefer it to be 3 bullets. You know what I mean? Like, they don't.
The
do
CEO's job is literally to increase.
No, you're focusing on one thing. Let's say even
What I'm saying is that the executives would have said, here's the general direction for the game. And maybe, I'm sure they fucked up and said, like, let's make it a class-based BR. And then they pivoted last moment. That's an executive issue. That's a project leadership issue. But there are a plethora of other issues, like that
map design, mouse,
yeah. And some of the map design issues are related to that. But a bunch of the other issues, like the mouse, like the the general gameplay, like any TTK issues, movement issues, those are all on the gameplay developers, right? Those aren't on the CEO. And so I see this like very rosy perspective coming from the Battlefield community a lot of the time, saying like, it's not DICE's fault, it's EA's fault, but it is both of their faults. And you can't just like let Florian off the hook because you like him because he's a nice
and his
guy.
team. No, but it's
like,
not. I don't know him at
he's
all,
also
bro.
responsible.
No, but I just want to. For me, it's about maybe not putting everything on one person. But I get what you mean, and it's a way of wording things. But and I get what you mean too. That it's the detail that are more on the field, going from mouse input to map design, are not in the head of the executive. But I also agree that having the game made as a BR, I feel like the map are a little bit like that, and I hear
absolutely.
the biggest creator said that too. From the smallest, everyone seems to agree with that feeling, and that I think also a CEO move like that may have much more impact than just deciding of a design of a map. So overall, it's kind of a butterfly effect. We don't know the impact that it can have at the end on the layer just under them. So as the motivation also too, you see how the community was sad about it. So, but now I feel like we'll still play. We have a match, by the way, in 3 hours on 2042 Germany USA. No, but yeah, you're right. Let's see. Honestly, to summarize the topic in where we are now, the map we work is something that needs to be addressed, and it's the fault not only of one person and not only the CEO. So it's. But I will jump. It's a good segue to our third subject. The core feedback loop is there, and it's. I think it's great. Go ahead. Yeah.
First of all, I don't think there was that many playtests or technical playtests with people, and I think asking for massive amounts of feedback. Because let's be honest, the beta was on October 20th, something like the end of October when the game was supposed to release, and then they pushed it back until November 12th for early access, I think. Yeah. And then the content creators got access to it a week before that. So really it was only delayed 2-3 weeks, and asking for massive feedback at that point in time might be a little bit too late.
That's what you feel. Okay.
Because if you look at it, the scoreboard took 2-3 months to make. So imagine other things that really important issues that people brought up during the beta. If the scoreboard takes 2-3 months to implement, I understand you have to, map a bunch of data. It can take literally forever navigating a database. I don't know which kind of databases they use, but that's a moot point. So I can understand why a scoreboard can take that long to make, but yeah, asking people for feedback on a beta, most of the gameplay elements should be nailed down at that point, and people should just be reporting on bug issues, more than anything. So I think maybe they would be well off having more technical playtests early on the earlier builds, or offering a beta more than 2-3 weeks ahead of the launch to give them time to work on some things, or ultimately bringing out a CTE.
CTE was
which
amazing,
did a lot for. We all know Battlefield 4 was in a pretty poor position when it launched. Not that I remember all that much. It was a long time
was
ago.
There
when
a
I was
CTE
it was so bad that we didn't buy it. Like a few of us have been playing Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 came out. It was awful. We were like, oh, this is just Battlefield 3, but worse in literally every way. And we never played it.
Yeah. So, but the CTE that they did for Battlefield 4 worked, really well in
they
Battlefield
made one for
4's
Battlefield 1 and it was amazing. So for me, there was one in Battlefield 1.
Yeah, and I think
too.
it gives, the option for people to be like, okay, I want to test out these new changes, or no, I don't really want to give feedback. I'll just keep playing the live game, and but at least you can get more substantial feedback and numbers on something that is available to the masses instead of only having it available to what is probably a small number in comparison of employees, you know.
A small
But,
number of terrible players. Yes, that's correct.
you know, people can be amazing game designers and not be able to
Oh,
play
yeah.
properly. It's okay, you know. It's people. You can be good at your
Yeah,
job, being a game like a map designer.
That's a
but being
normal state, right? Like you don't
Yeah.
expect designers
people to be
very
pro players
occasionally
and
get
stuff.
one, but you know, it's rare. And poor Maple's like, oh, I invited Nept on. Oh no,
you're one of the best player in the world, bro. So you know that's, and I'm not that bad with a console, no MSS. You will be surprised, bro. You will be surprised.
I think actually, and this is getting into the feedback loop. I think it's important to seek that kind of feedback, right? Because like all of Omni played Battlefield's beta testing and could have told them like off the bat what a great deal of the issues were going to be.
Yeah, and a lot of people could have done like you could see some issues were easy to replicate in the beta, but they just don't have enough time. Even if it was a 2-month-old build, it doesn't matter because if you guys are already ahead of that, well, you have to go. You kind of have to go back, you know. But there's only like 3 weeks left till launch, so I don't know. Maybe have a better alpha beta schedule. You know, give us
absolutely
access even earlier, so that if people, the players, because you have a way bigger pool of people playing when you're in a beta state than, you know, in-house tests with what probably not 700 people. I can't imagine there would be all the devs working at DICE playtesting a game all at once. You know, other shit has to get done. So what, a handful, like maybe 2 full servers playtesting the game at any given time. And I'm going to be honest, players always figure out how to break the game in a way that devs probably don't think of or don't necessarily have the time to do it. So yeah, giving access to the alphas and betas, I think earlier would go a great length in helping make the finished Battlefield product something that is worthwhile for most people, you know? Like hardcore Battlefield fans are probably going to stick around and come back once there's some patches and Season 1 comes out, but people that were burned on launch, unfortunately, I think those people are gone for good, and it sucks because, you know, Battlefield 2042 was kind of like, oh, it's he's the chosen one, you know, it's gonna bring it back, baby. Battlefield's back, and well, Battlefield's not back. And
I heard something about 2 bad game, 1 good game, 2 bad game, 1 good game. I heard
that
something.
too.
It was a while back.
It shouldn't be like that though. Like,
no, I know, but I was like,
that.
is that because for me, I love the you can love the opus depending of the person, but some people were like, no choice, the next one's going to be great. I hope they will have a next one. I'm pretty sure, yes. What do you think about the core feedback loop too? We're still in our last topic, Nept. Do you have, what would you like to say as a feedback, let's see? Not against the the map design of Rotterdam, bro.
Don't worry.
Sorry. It was fun.
Oh no, it's just funny. I'm just thinking of like for you inviting me on. It's like, oh, Nept will have some interesting things to say. And there's
goddamn Enders 2.0. Why did we invite him?
That's okay.
He looks like a good dude, Enders. I've never spoken to him personally, but he looks like a good dude.
Enders is a very good.
He looks like a free spirit
dude. Yeah. He's very different with the Omni guys compared to his stream, but you know, it's a good dude nonetheless. I think that the map and just not the map design issue, sorry, the beta and lack of an alpha test and that sort of thing that Rogue was talking about, I think that's something that can be related to poor product or project management from the top, because they probably would be listening to that and saying like, well, that's a great idea, but we didn't have time to do it. Or at least one would hope that they would think that that's a great idea. Because the next point is that Battlefield and its development team seems to continue making the same mistakes year after year, Battlefield after Battlefield. Like if you look at the private server issue, right? Or the ability to host private servers, like Battlefield 1 came out, we had to wait like 6 months before we could host our own games. Battlefield 5 came out, we had to wait like, what, a year and a half before we could host our own games? That's ridiculous. And then Battlefield 2042, like we were ready to play Battlefield 5 competitively, but it took them a year and a half to give us the option. We played one tournament with ESB where we had to ask people politely to leave pubs so that we could play our tournament. You
Yeah.
know, like you can imagine how that went. So we played that, we won that, and we quit. And we didn't come back when it was a year and a half later, because why? And 2042 launches, and they finally kind of solved that problem ish.
Yeah, but
With the
there's no
private
persistent
with
lobbies,
Portal,
which
which is
sucks.
nice. Yeah, and then there's no spectator mode. There's no, and
Yeah.
it's like, how many times do you need to learn this lesson, old man? Like,
But that's normal that the spectator mode don't come right away. Let's say
Is it normal?
With
like,
Battlefield 1, it took a
shouldn't
few
be.
months. With Battlefield 5,
it
it
shouldn't,
took...
though.
But that's
It
kind of what I'm
shouldn't.
saying, right?
It
Like,
shouldn't,
they shouldn't have
you
to
know?
learn that lesson over and over. They should
It should be
know
like,
from
okay,
that this
so
is
last
something.
time on launch, people were angry because there wasn't this. So this time,
Yeah.
we should maybe have those in. But like, I work for a small app company, and like, just giving my 2 cents on dev, like, it takes time, and they have to equip themselves with the proper tools to allow them the time to fix those issues, like making earlier alphas, making earlier betas, making more technical playtests, getting more people involved, people that know what they're talking about, possibly, if that's something that can happen. But yeah, they need to equip themselves with the proper tools to make a product that is
I feel
worth
like they
something.
have Frostbite Engine, but we saw so many devs quitting.
They have
We saw
trouble
so
with
many
it,
dev
yeah.
quitting, and so many new people join. We
And-
don't know the new people, but there is new people joining. I feel like even the best dev will need to adapt a little bit to the DICE environment,
And
the
just like
software
to-
source. Yeah.
to
I
bounce
feel
off
like
of
we are
that.
in that part at the moment for Battlefield, because we heard a big departure from a lot of people who were working on the game. Those people, even they have been replaced with, I guess, excellent talent. Those people need to adapt in the game. And even the guy from Call of Duty, there's Best Betler, sorry, I don't remember the name, but Spence, the head of, he was
Zampella?
working on, yes, Mr. Zampella, sorry. Even him, he was working on COD, and Battlefield's not that different. I'm pretty sure the guys, he arrived, he say, okay, what can we do? Feed me, I need info. What can we do? Maybe he's still thinking and taking his grab. It's not even been 6 months, or I don't know. So we're right now at the moment of this big change. In addition, that bring me back to the point that it's maybe an executive decision sometime at some point for a certain aspect
some
of
of
the
these,
game.
absolutely.
I feel like it may
Yeah,
have
I
more
agree on
impact.
that.
That
I'd have to imagine that it's hard to replace talent once people leave from DICE, because 90% of the developers in the world have never ever used Frostbite. The most common engines being used is Unreal Engine, Unity, and what else?
I think that's, I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't think Frostbite is available just to every person to have access to. I highly doubt it. So you'd
I
be
don't
hiring
think so.
people that have no knowledge whatsoever of the Frostbite engine, and I can just imagine how
Exactly.
hard it must be to onboard those people and teach them how to use the Frostbite engine. So,
One other thing I wanted to... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Just on the feedback thing again, I do agree that this is one of those things that if you're rushing the project, if you're swapping things like years into development, obviously that's going to impact your alpha and beta testing. But I do think that they need to make more of an effort to include the upper echelons of the community, and say like, hey, what are the issues here, right? Because they seem to call on their DICE friends pretty often, right? Like, they're content creators, but they're not looking for feedback from them. And a lot of those content creators can't give particularly nuanced feedback because they're not particularly great players. No offense to them. I think a lot of them realize that. But it seems
Broken
like
Machine is
DICE
great.
is almost... Yeah. I mean, they're out there, but,
They're few and far between.
Yeah, and I think that DICE more wants them to, just
Market.
pat them on the back and say, this is wonderful, and also, here's some footage, everybody look at this for the marketing, exactly. But when you're balancing any competitive shooter, you want to start from the top down. You want to get the feedback from your upper-end players, because those are the people who are going to notice the issues, right? A lot of people playing Battlefield are just running around trying to have some fun in it. They're not going to notice, like, that this weapon's problematic, that weapon's problematic, that this TTK is going to be a problem with this netcode, for example. They're not going to notice the mouse issues, evidently. And if you get the higher end players in there early on, then you can save yourself a lot of time and actually have an effective playtest. And even just we were talking earlier about the vehicle balance on the maps. I think part of the problem there is that the DICE developers never experienced what it was like. Imagine we put like, I don't know if you've seen Omni Focus stream, right? Or helicopter.
Can't say that I have,
player.
no.
You know, he's a beast in the helicopter. And imagine like 2 or 3 of him flying around and you didn't pick a wildcat, right? Like you would figure out real quickly that there's an imbalance there, right? Or a potential imbalance there, and you might start correcting for it. But it's obvious that they never figured that out. Maybe because none of them are particularly good with the helicopter, maybe because they always picked a wildcat because they're like, well, of course you would.
Yeah, but that's not how the general public thinks.
Exactly.
You know, if you give them
The general
freedom, they're
public
going
is
to do
like,
whatever the
"Tank,
hell they want. Yeah,
tank."
and that's okay. that they have. That's what they built it like that. So by giving players freedom to do whatever they want, they will, in fact, do whatever they want. You know.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that they, that they think about all these things and learn from the mistakes that they've made, and maybe eventually we'll see some change. Maybe even think about changing the engine that Battlefield's built on, even if it costs you a little bit of licensing fees and royalties. If it makes it so that
though this I'm not sure.
Probably not. It's wishful thinking.
Frostbite
but
seems to be a powerful engine.
Powerful
they just
engine.
don't know how to use it.
And it's not available widely, so getting new devs when old talent leaves, because even if those people like old developers like Tigger and people like that have left DICE, they've been working on Battlefield for so goddamn long that at some point they want a different type of challenge in their life. So even if they do love the Battlefield franchise so much, doing the same thing over and over and over again for God knows how long, probably a decade, those people are eventually going to move on, and you have to replace them with somebody
everyone
that
is changing Damen around 10 times during his year of working. So
and then you have to replace that person that has 10 years experience with the Frostbite engine that more than likely worked on many features that is in the new iteration of the Frostbite engine. You have to bring somebody on board that knows not a single thing about it. It's just probably very difficult for employee turnover. It's probably super
the adaptation
difficult.
of the new dev in the team. Exactly.
I wouldn't like to be in the shoes of the person that's hiring and onboarding new people at
but
DICE.
You have to do. I feel like at some point there is, again, as a super sad community, we see I'm pretty sure it's like, okay, we have a big challenge to do. We have the work is not trivial to use the word, but I'm pretty sure at least you have to see the light over the tunnel. So the way I feel, and like honestly, I feel like it make a little bit no sense to say that the dev will not play the game at all, and I feel like people using like they don't play the game at all.
Well, I feel as though they didn't actually have enough time to play test it a lot, because
it is true that maybe some testing is missing, especially like what Nept say about the chopper and things like that. That I agree. But I mean, in general, the people like in general at all say that it's like no one never played the game at all in the 500 employees. I don't want to take the defense too much, but I just want to put things in perspective. We need to stay realistic here. So when you say you don't want to be in the boat of the people hiring, maybe these people is super happy. He had the change to change Battlefield for the good by finding the right people. So. And I feel like he should see that like this if he want to perform well. So,
I'm not saying it's bad to hire new people. I'm just saying it must be very difficult to get new devs when you want to fill a position, because it might take them 6 months to be comfortable enough to actually start working on a game. You know what I mean? So
I agree. It's just a way better phrasing that I feel like the community overall, and it's again because the community is sad. We're becoming cynical, and that's not good.
I think that's fair. I don't think it's realistic to say. I agree with you. I don't think it's realistic to say that they've never played it in their life, and I think that a lot of the videos coming out from content creators now, they're just, as you say, very frustrated. And
and
also
it's a lot of clickbait. People want to make videos for people to see them. But I
will say that Sorry, go ahead. I didn't
No,
mean
no,
to
that's fine.
interrupt you.
Continue.
I was going around in circles anyways.
Oh, let's
will
finish on
say
that.
that-
Yeah, go ahead. Nept. Yeah, sorry.
I will say that even setting that aside, they've evidently not done a good job at the testing. And they could have just, and I know it sounds elitist as hell, and I don't mean it in that way. I'm not saying like, oh, we're better than you, we get to play the game. But like if you're trying to make a new rule in hockey, right? You're like, our goalie pads a little too wide in hockey, right? And we're all Canadians here. We can appreciate this analogy, even if nobody else does, right? You look at the top. You look at the players in professional leagues, right? And you start working from there. You don't start at like, house league bantam hockey and say, well, what do you think about these things? Because they just don't have the skill set, the
Experience.
knowledge. Yeah, they just don't have it. And that's not like a slight on them. It's simply to say that you balance from the top down, and all the successful games do this, right? Overwatch does it. You think Overwatch balances their league with feedback from like bronze Overwatch players?
No.
No. Like, is this fun for you? Yeah, okay, that's great. Like, and then you can tweak maybe like a game mode or add new modes for casual play. But ultimately, when you're balancing the gunplay, when you're balancing the gameplay, you have to start from the top and work your way down to make sure it's fun for all skill levels.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of my big concerns looking at this feedback loop. Like, I would personally be contacting some of the competitive teams still remaining and saying like, hey, can you just drop a list of, and they'd all do it, not for clout. They just do it to help out the game that they enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't necessarily get a huge consensus on everything, but you would get a general consensus on some issues.
But I think it's a CEO thing, because maybe the competitive scene is not seen as the one of CSGO
As the
or
target
Overwatch.
market
or
either.
anything. So the higher ground
definitely
didn't
not.
use this
But I
way
can't
or
see
even
that it would be
suggest this.
fun.
But I understand what you mean. If there was, and it's not that it's not existing. We are doing currently tournament and ESB and other. But I mean the reason why I think they didn't express that as we're gonna ask the competition team is to the scene compared to other competitive video game scene of the world. So saying publicly that you will ask, let's say only those people. Maybe though,
of course you wouldn't say that, right? But
it will
to give you a
nice.
real quick idea, but also everyone would be mad at them. But to give you like a real quick idea, that Leap game that's in development, I don't know if you saw that. Yeah. So what they did was they contacted a number of the strong players, and then they said, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And just asked for feedback. They weren't like control the direction of the game, but they just asked good, strong players for feedback and then started implementing that.
Mm-hmm.
And DICE, it just feels like they're casting a huge, wide net, and I don't know how they're going to sort any of this feedback.
Man, all that data, my God, I don't even know how to think about how they're going to sort through that.
Like,
but they made it for the city.
Mess.
Yeah, but they can. I mean, no, but they wanted feedback. People are giving a lot in the official Discord. There is thread, there is messages, there is on Twitter, there is everywhere, there is on the forum. So they wanted feedback. They have it. I understand that it will be a work that it will be not trivial to fix, even for the feedback. But I encourage us to stay positive and all that after the rain.
Even if people are like the most casual player that just plays like once a week, Battlefield, even though he would probably be like, oh well, why aren't you asking me for feedback? I can guarantee that person getting mowed down by Ash BF in a chopper 24/7 probably isn't having a fun time. We're getting freaking headshotted.
SBF is again one of the best in the world. You're talking about.
Just because I thought about him off the top of my head, and I've seen Twitter clips, but I can guarantee you that person is not having fun because of how the vehicle balance is. So if balancing from the top down, you might have some things that probably wouldn't be the thing that casual players would want, but generally speaking, I think if you do balance from the top down, it'll make for a more enjoyable experience across the board, regardless of whether that person is salty that he didn't get to give feedback. It's probably better for them in the long run,
I think you can still get that feedback too.
Yeah.
And just prioritize the top down and say like, hey, these are like the fine details, and then you can look at everybody else's feedback and say like, here are here's where they're having fun, here's where they're not, and see
that's
how
how-
those two things link up, and how you can use that feedback from the top to address those issues.
And
in
that
the
was
more
what the
casual
CTE
sense.
was doing. People were giving their feedback with just playing
honestly-
the game without this the fact that you say how do you feel on the game la, and the data that you say Rogue. I know it's not data comment, la, but I just want to say CTE was good for both of what you just say, guys. Either the some sort of feedback without even having to write because they see how you move, how you shut, when you reload, when you
Yeah, they have heat
everything.
maps of all that. And,
This is the best feedback that I think they
And
can
honestly,
have in
like, it's not to sound mean or anything, but probably the people that were playing the CTEs were the most hardcore dedicated fans, people that have been playing Battlefield for a long time, and more than likely, a lot of the competitive players would give the CTEs a whirl to see what the changes feel like. Like, just to give you guys an example,
absolutely.
like the TTK changes that Battlefield 5 had in the mid of its life cycle, if they had to put that out in a CTE form, they wouldn't have had to deal with the backlash of people losing their shit because what are you doing? We're like a year, 2 years into the
13
game.
bullet was too much for
and you're telling me that the gun that took 4 bullets last week is now taking 10 to kill somebody? My brain can't think it. My brain can't figure that out. I'm gonna stop shooting after 4. It's true.
But changing back, they're changing back.
Slight TTK increase, but like by 1 or 2 bullets. Not like
In
double
2042,
zero
you mean?
bullets at this range. Just generally speaking, in Battlefield games, I think I'll just address this super quickly.
Yeah.
But Battlefield doesn't have great tick rate on its servers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have amazing netcode. And when you have a particularly fast TTK, like 3-4 bullets, what it often happens is because not as many packets are being sent or received, it just like bloop, just like one mega bullet hits you and you die.
super
right?
One
bullet.
frame kill.
Yeah.
Yep.
And nobody likes that. Everybody hates that. And if you just increase the TTK by a little bit, you'd still have fast kills, but that
don't
problem
get one
would
framed.
be mitigated.
Yeah.
And also, like, now you're increasing the skill ceiling just by a little bit because you have to trace just a
you have
little
to
bit.
track
You know
more.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead
You
of
know,
like, I'm going to spray 3-4 bullets at somebody and hope I get, or spray 30 bullets and hope I get 3 or 4 hits.
Yeah.
And I'm not asking for it to be made like, Apex, right? With that TTK, but generally speaking, I think a
Even
slight
Apex,
increase would be good.
If we're comparing to Apex,
Yeah,
their
Apex,
servers are
that's
very
what I
good. I can like a lot of people say like, oh, the servers are fine, whatever. Sometimes when I play Apex, I can literally do actions faster than the packets can send it to the server. And then when the server sends back the last registered world state, it says that I didn't actually pick up that gun and the gun's back on the ground after I had physically picked up the gun. Faster than the server could register it.
Did you play the new mode, Arena? Is that good? The 3v3?
Yeah, I
6v6?
mean, it was all right, but people kept leaving all the time because they're butthurt about being.
We're going to do a tournament in Apex soon. But not BFN, but in Apex World. Anyway, guys, I think we break the 1 hour. I don't want this to be too
we're
long.
like at an
on YouTube.
hour
No,
and 10.
But that was amazing, honestly, and that
Good
was
talk,
great.
though.
It was constructive. It was okay. We go to the point, and I think you were big thanks, Nept. Honestly, you
no
are a real good competitive player. So your feedback is on that as one of the best player of the world, founder of one of the best team in the world on Battlefield, member of the competition team, preparing the next rule set. So thanks for joining today. Honestly, it was a true pleasure. Rogue, do you want to say something? And after that, Nept, the last word. We'll finish on this.
Yeah, sure. So hopefully we get the podcast going again bi-weekly. Yes, I think that's the proper term. Bi-monthly, not bi-weekly.
Yeah,
That'll kill me.
bi-monthly, bro. I was not there again. And I just want to say that as much as for me, it is super easy to do things like way better than others, there is some normal thing that I have difficulty. So I need to be there and give. And I see that my non-present may spread sometimes negativity, which I don't want. So it's not you guys, it's really me. So yes, 2 times a month, and I will ping you. It was 7, 8 in the morning for you, Nept. You are West Coast, so we've done this. It's 11 for us. Nept woke up at 7:30 in the morning, guys, for you this podcast. So remember that. So yes, we're gonna do twice a month, and the team want to do that. I'll be there too. We're all gonna be there too. Yeah.
Yeah. So big thank you.
I woke up at 7:50.
Madness.
Thanks, bro. That was really...
I can't remember the last time I woke up that early. I work from home, right? So I make my own schedule. And
thanks, Rogue, again, with your work at house. You're always there animating. Great question. We're glad to have you, I think, as an animator. But I'm pretty sure everyone can appreciate and agree. I love that, at least. You guys don't have your tongues in your mouth, let's say, but you love the game and play it each week after all.
You love it.
Yeah, I understand. And it's true that the community is, everyone is a bit sad, so we're all human, so the emotion go a bit left and right, because after all, we love the game. No worries. Thanks, yes, for being animator. And thanks again, Nept. I want to reiterate, everyone, for the podcast on YouTube. If you don't know Nept, go watch his Twitter, go watch his Twitch. He stream often. Go watch the tutorial that he made about the mouse. A really helpful 5 minutes. It's awesome. So watch any member when you see his logo on Discord playing. You will make sure that you watch one of the best player in Battlefield, pretty much. So big thanks again for joining. One last word, Nept. You're the guest. To finish.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It's been a fun hour and a half now, or hour and 10 minutes, and appreciate the opportunity to come here and have a chat with the two of you about these things. It's interesting hearing your perspectives. And I largely agree with the points that everyone brought up.
Yeah, we're all logical with the game, and we all have great point, my friend. And I will rethink about this Rotterdam map. I will go play that. I will say why I want to continue. Let's talk about that on the battlefield when we talk other. All right, big thanks, guys,
thanks
for
everybody
joining.
for hanging out. I appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys in the next podcast.
Yeah,
Sounds good. Have a good one, people.
Peace.